right, we got time for one more. I love Harry Styles because he's living that boa life, and I'm all about the boa. So one more. Throw it away now.
Rock on, Stacy.
Just an invitation would have been just fine. Said no to him again and again. First he took my heart, then he ran. No one knows how I feel, what I say unless you read between my lines. One man walked away from me. First he took my hand. Take me home. Stand back in the middle of my room. I did not hear from you. It's alright, be standing in a line, be standing in a line. I'm a cry. La 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 la. Do not turn away, my friend, like a widow I can't bear. No man called my name, no man came. So I walked on down away from you. Baby, your attention was more than you could do. One man did not call. He asked me for my love, and that was all. Stand back in the middle of my room. I did not hear from you. It's alright, be standing in a line, be standing in a line. I would cry. La 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 la
Okay, let's get going.
All right, let us in.
Let us in. Good morning. What is that? Oh, is that what is that? EL Valley? What's behind you? Stace. Oh wait, you muted.
It is Yale Valley.
Oh, okay. I saw the light.
In the waiting room too.
Good morning, you guys. So happy Aloha Wednesday and happy St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, so who has green on? Show us your green. Wait, Stacy's pinned. Why is Stacy pinned? Can we unpin Stacy so I can see other people's green? Hang on, gallery view. Oh, okay, there we go. Gallery view. Green. Okay, people are saying they're wearing green, but I don't see the green. I see Tim's green. I see Cheryl's, fate green. That's really cute. Teresa, Sam, look at you guys. You got it. So I see a green trash can, Steve. That's awesome. And Brendan has his green mask. So I'm wearing a jade bracelet. That's my green. And I swear, tell me if anyone else has this, so I have these stickers that I've had for years that are like, what do you call that? Not 4-leaf clovers, shamrocks, right? Like shamrocks and little hats. And I bought them, I mean, I don't even know how many years ago. And theoretically, every year I would take a sticker and like wear it, like the shamrock on my face. So I have my green. Sometimes, and then I see it throughout the year, right? I go, oh, there's my green stickers for St. Patrick's Day. There's my green stickers for St. Patrick's Day. And then on St. Patrick's Day, I can't find my green stickers. Like, I have no idea where they are. I looked all over for them this morning. I'm like, I know you're here because I saw you like 3 months ago. And so you don't get the sticker today. That said, if I find them like tomorrow or a week from now or a month from now, and I'm wearing them, there you go, because I don't want that money to go to waste. Okay. I want to show you something. If you guys haven't seen it, I posted it on our Facebook group page, and then I posted it on my page this morning, and I'm going to share because this is pretty cool. Oh, can you, Latasha, let me in on sharing?
Should have it.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to show you where we're at, which is nuts so far after 2 months this year. Oh, that's too big. Okay. So this is a cool sheet that one of our coaches made for us, Rich Rector, who's was my coach for years and is Stacy's coach now. And so these are the kind of numbers we do track on a monthly basis. And sometimes I give them at our team meetings, especially from a regional perspective, because they do the numbers on a regional level. And so our office, I mean, yeah, I want to just have a little bit of a conversation about this because it's kind of a crazy juxtaposition going on here. So this is where we are. If we look at month over month, that means where we were February. So this came out after February's numbers. So month over month means February to last year compared to February to this year, just that month, and how, whether we were up or down and by what amount. So those numbers, by the way, are insanely high. I mean, compared to last year, where we were also in a high season and the pandemic hadn't hit yet. I mean, we didn't really start shutting down till March. So, and then year over year is year to date. So with January and February, only 2 months into the year, but still 2 months into the year. So year to date where we were last year and year to date where we were this year. Again, you guys, these increases are incredibly high. Now, here's the crazy thing that, you know, I'm thinking and navigating through, and I'm curious about your feedback, which is, on the one hand, we have this incredibly high activity level, and you guys are selling and we're closing more deals and these numbers are up. And then on the other hand, we know that inventory is as low as we've ever seen it. I've ever seen it. And those of you who've been on Maui longer than I am, you can tell me if this happened in the, 90s or something, or in the 80s or 90s. And so where does that threshold lie? And when do we start seeing this stabilize based on the fact that we literally cannot get property for our clients, which a lot of you are facing right now? So I'm curious about your conversations or your input around that, and whether you believe that we're going to hit a point where inventory, remains where it is and demand stays high, and we stall out on this activity just because we cannot sell. There's a limited amount of inventory to sell. Or do you think that inventory is going to start opening up enough to not quite take care of the demand, because right now it's a very big spectrum or gap. However, to be able to keep these numbers high throughout the year. So I'm just curious about any conversations you guys are having and what your thoughts are around that, and maybe brokers, what you're seeing. So let's talk about that for a minute. What are your thoughts? I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, by the way, I did get this template. I requested this template from them so we could put it in the intranet and make this bottom editable. So we'll take me and Stacy out, and then you can either get just this top part to use in your listing presentation, or you'll be able to edit in, I think it's in Canva. So I have to see if we can change it into something else. And you can customize the bottom and put your own information on there, because it's something you probably are going to want to use in your listing presentations. So let's talk about, what are your thoughts about what I just said regarding inventory, supply and demand, and also the high level of increase in activity from last year? Anybody? Any
Well,
thoughts around that?
I'll
Tammy?
volunteer.
Yeah.
The problem is, of course, we're not keeping up with building, right? And
Mm-hmm.
actually, this Friday, I believe, you should offer testimony to the county council because they are working on the workforce housing ordinance, which sounds good on its face, but we did this in '04, where they want to raise the affordable component of development from now 25% to 75%. They had it originally in '04, it was 80%, right, under Charmaine Tavares. Developers said, no way, we can't do that, right? We'd like 20, but we can settle on 30. So what did the council do? They made it 50%. And that's what happened in '04, and we're living that right now, right? There's no housing for anybody, rentals even. There's no inventory to sell. And now they want to go back and do that same thing again. We've already tested that theory. So please offer testimony at council because even developers are saying, look, we've already tried this thing, right? It doesn't work.
It becomes unaffordable for them to even create a project. They
right,
will lose
because
money, right? At some
have
point.
to have 75% of it at affordable rate and 25% at market. That doesn't pencil out, right?
Yep.
I remember testifying in '04 telling the council, developers are in it for the money. Don't forget that. They're not in it for the greater good of Maui. So we have to make sure that pencils out, as bad as that sounds, right? But, so, and I've been quoting this thing for years now, that we were supposed to build 1,400 homes a year, and we were only building 300 homes a year over years now, right? Over the last 5 years, but I've been telling the story for about 2 or 3 years, so it's bad, and we all know that, right? Not only for sales, but for rentals and everything like that. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you for that. So what do we do, you guys, to help with the issues that we're having? Obviously, building more homes is definitely helpful. How do you find things for your buyers? So those of you who've been in multiple offer situations may have lost out, which we can also talk about how to make your offer stronger. That's actually a good class right now. I'm just making a note on that. And then finding listings, right? I've talked to several of you, anybody who I've had some one-on-one conversations with in the last few weeks or so, maybe even months, is how are you finding listings? How are you finding properties and people that are maybe looking to sell? So if anybody has any strategies around that, yes, Michelle.
I'll share something that's been working. Riley, Ralph, and I have been working on Iliahi at Kehalani. Mm-hmm. And we have just maxed out. We started with one listing. So obviously just listed cards, pending, just sold, talking to the neighbors when you're there. And we just focused on that one subdivision. We're now on our 3rd listing in that building, not even that complex, that building of 4. This is our 3rd listing in less than 90 days. We've sold 1A at a record price. So we put an ad in the newspaper. We sold 1B at a new record price in February. Again, social media. So just take whatever it is that you're doing, preferably on the listing side, and just saturate that neighborhood with your success. Our goal was to get a record high sale in a short period of time, which we were able to do back to back. We're now on the 3rd one. We've been on the market, I think, 6 or 7 days now, and we've probably had 10 or 12 showings. I think we'll be in escrow by the end of the weekend. You have to control the listings to survive. The other trend I'm seeing, which I do not like, is that agents are lowering the co-op percentage in the MLS. So I've seen some at 2%, some at 1%. So as a buyer's agent, that is being lowered consistently. I still put 3%. I think you have to offer 3%. Unless you're taking a 5%, then maybe you could do 2.5%. I really don't think you should go below 2.5%, but they are. And so 1% is a hard deal to swallow when you're doing a buy side, 1%. But control the listings, get a listing, any listing. And even if you represent the buyer in that neighborhood, blast it out in the newspaper, social media, in postcards, go door knock at a distance. I mean, you can walk the neighborhood. That's my form of door knocking now, not going up within 6 feet, but you can just walk the neighborhood. You know, people start to see you there all the time and they're like, hey, you're back. What are you doing? You know, put out your sign while you're working on the property. Lots of options, but all of those are low dollar things that don't cost a lot of money. They just take time.
Can I add to that?
Thank you. Yes, Dean. Thank
Yes,
you.
I was just going to say, Michelle took the words out of my mouth. She's 100% correct that the only way to get listings is by farming consistently. And I think the success of the farming program is exactly what Michelle's saying, which is that you have to be hyper-focused on it and really concentrate on a neighborhood or a building or a community and farm religiously that community until you have the small success that gets you to the big success, right? So Michelle is 100% correct. She's targeting a specific area and she's committing all of her effort and resources into that specific community. And the success that Michelle will have going forward will be based on that success in that community and leveraging that success. There's no question in my mind, you know, that is the way to do it. So I think the farming, for those of us who have been farming for many years, my listing inventory hasn't changed. I'm still at 25 listings. I was at 25 listings a year ago. But it's only because of consistent farming over a long period of time and being hyper-focused with that. And that's the key to what I wanted to underscore what Michelle was saying, is that the key to the success of it is the fact that she's hyper-focused on one community. Sorry, I had to get that out.
Thank you. That's so great. Thank you, Dean.
There's only 90 homes and it's not a high price point, but it's a price point that most buyers can buy in, which is why when I started to ramp up, I looked at that neighborhood, they're 500,000. Most people can afford a 3-bedroom at 500,000. So it's something, there's a huge demand and they'll go quick. So you can turn one every month and get a few sales.
Yeah, that's a good point too, as far as the price points and this you know, from Bob Cartwright's school of farming too, the idea that you also have multiple price points. So you might pick three areas that are at different levels of price point, because, you know, then you don't have all of that in one. And depending on what clientele you're looking at, I mean, you do want to stay hyper-focused. I agree with that, because you will be able to get that in. However, if your farm is limited, that conversion rate for 90 homes is really good, right? So you might pick 3 price points, and entry level is always good, especially right now, because entry level is incredibly high compared to some of the rest of the country. Andy, one more, and then we'll go on to a couple more things. Thank you guys for that input.
Yeah, I was just wanted to say that I got a letter yesterday in the mail. I own a house in Washington, and it was just all about the market and how, you know, the multiple offer situations and over asking price and so on and so forth. Just explained all of that that's happening here too. And you know, said, if you're thinking about selling, can I take 15 minutes of your time and talk to you about the value of your house? This was a great, well-written letter.
Yeah.
And although my family lives there, so I'm not going to sell out from under them, it really got me thinking, you know, now's the time. Maybe I should be putting it in the market. If I did, I would have called this gal. So anyway.
Yeah. Such a good point, Andy. I got one too. I got one from an investor, you know, the old yellow paper investor letter, which is so funny because I know the strategy. I know it. And I received one, and I just bought a second home on the mainland. And I do not have an intention of selling it. However, I got the yellow letter, and I was like, and it's like, I want to buy your home. And I was like, well, you know, maybe I should check and see. Like, this stuff works, you know, it's really good. Okay. A couple of things I want to touch on, and I was checking to see if Lee Potts was on, because we did say we would continue the conversation about the MLS rules. I texted him. I haven't heard back. So I'm going to go to a couple of things that I wanted to make sure that we talk about. One is next week at this time is our awards, our celebration for our awards for you guys, for the Agent Awards. From 2020 numbers, so 2020 stats. And then we have some really fun kind of People's Choice Awards that you guys are voting on. So a reminder, Latasha put in the chat box the Agent Choice Award survey link. You would have gotten it in your email. There's 2 different, or they still have to do the 2 different surveys, Latasha, right? The first one with the 10 and then the 5.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so you received 2 links to surveys, and we're counting on you guys to nominate your peers for some of these awards. And I know some of you don't know each other, and however, some of you do. So we love to get your feedback on who you think should get certain awards that are some of the fun ones. And then we also have production related awards, and we're going to do some giveaways and just fun little things, fun door prizes. So that is next week. At this time, we'll start your day with awards on Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. And it's going to go where we blocked out 2 hours from 8:30 to 10:30. And the link is the same as this regular link every week to make it as easy as possible for those of you to attend that. Anything else about awards, Latasha, that we need to tell everybody, or is that's it, right?
That is it. Just complete the survey.
Great. Thank you. And then I also sent out an email to you guys, and thank you for those of you who are responding. We are compiling a list for Red Day, Renew, Energize, and Donate, which is our annual, it's the second Thursday of the month. It's May 13th, second Thursday of the month, to celebrate Mo Anderson's birthday. From Keller Williams, and it's where we close the offices. So, I mean, obviously not a lot of you are physically there right now, although if you were, and those of you who are, and for our executive team, we're going to be closed, all of our offices, on Thursday, May 13th, to go out into the community and support our community and do something fun. So you guys on the Big Island will do that there. We'll do it on Maui. I mean, you've got a couple people, Crystal and Steve on Kauai. If you want to do something, that's great, or you can participate in what we're doing by donating. So we're just picking the nonprofits. Every year we select a nonprofit based on suggestions that you guys have about who we want to support and what we want to do. And it also depends on the nonprofit. So we reach out to people and we say, what do you need? Sometimes they don't need, or we can't do something physically there. So we could just donate funds, although we like to do things like go to Habitat and, help build homes or clean out their, Boys and Girls Club. We've done that, where we went and we built cubbies for them one year. We did Grow Some Good, and we worked at Comely Elementary School, and we built their garden, and we took weeds and we painted. So whatever we can do, there's cool stuff that we'll look at, and we'll start to, as soon as we know what we're doing, we'll announce it. We are still taking suggestions. I'm going to bring them up tomorrow with the ALC meeting that we have. And then the culture committee will continue on with planning for that. That's coming up May 13th. Keone, I wanted you to talk a little bit about, what did you say? Something, I have a note about, escrow numbers issues, and then replying all, and wire. And then I want to talk about like wiring, because the wire fraud thing seems to be popping up again. And one of you contacted me and almost had a client. They were literally in line at the bank to wire funds to a fake account. So, so go ahead, Keone, you want to touch on those escrow things we were talking about?
I think it was, remember, don't reply all when you're getting things from escrow, because you're compromising now your client's information, emails, things like that. That's how that wire fraud stuff starts, because they copy emails, they copy even pages, right? So it looks the same. I mean, you really can't tell in this unless you know a couple of points. Marianne, I would like her to tell her points that she always spies on that to make sure that it's legit or not, and they're really good. So I'll have her share that part. But that's the main one is don't reply all, right? Just reply the stuff to your people, and be cautious.
So that the other party doesn't get like private information that the escrow company sent you. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Thank you, Mary.
Share her tips on checking out fake emails.
Okay, we talked about this on Monday for the productivity coaching program. So it's kind of like your, suspicions about any kind of email that you think something's wrong here. The first place to look is to the email address it came from. And in particular, the client should be made aware to notice what your email is and what the escrow officer's email is, and to actually compare. If they just put a dot in the middle of the escrow officer's name, it will look just like the escrow officer's email.
Mm-hmm.
But that dot makes all the difference, right? And when in Nicole's instance, when they actually looked at all the emails, they were all AOL emails. So you look at that email. The second point was in the purchase contract under I-6. I-6 is that list of, I don't know, 8 or 10 items that are disclosures that you should review with your client. The one before the end, or maybe the very last one, number F or something, says, warning, there is fraud going on, and here's what to look out for. And I mean, if you literally just read that paragraph, that is a really good warning. So get in the habit of looking at I-6 and that particular paragraph and review it with your clients, because that's what they need to be made aware of. And it was because Nicole had warned her client that her client decided to call the lender and say, hey, I just thought I'd check. I'm standing in line at the bank and I'm about to send the deposit. And is this the right amount? And the lender says, oh my God, don't do that. Get out of there. Something's wrong. And the fellow stopped. That's how close he got to wiring his money to the wrong place. So it's really,
thank you.
This is real.
Thank you for that. Okay, last thing that I wanted to cover today is, so just to reiterate, and these are, we always talk about things, we often talk about things during this call that have come up, right, as examples. I mean, that's the benefit of having the size of the company we have, the amount of you who are out there doing business, because we get a lot of information about not only in general real estate stuff of what's going on, but timely things. And so one of the lessons learned that I want to reiterate is having agreements with each other internally. So sometimes you may go on a trip, you may have a listing, or you may be working with a buyer, and I've mentioned this before, and you may go on a trip, or you may have to do something and you need help from somebody to assist you, another agent, whatever the situation is. And so you say, hey, can you help me out here? I was talking to 2 people about this last week. Can you help me out here and, do my showings during this period of time, or whatever the agreement is? Or say you take a co-listing from the beginning, or you're working with a buyer together because maybe you both know them and they were talking to both of you, whatever the situation. I know some of you sometimes take listings even with other agents, with other companies as a co-listing, because that client is talking to both of you, and you guys want to make sure that you have an opportunity on it, and so you offer to co-list. So the key is having agreements with each other internally. Even if somebody says, I'm just going to help you out and do showings while you're in Canada or whatever, why you would be there for the winter, I have no idea. But anyway, so you're going to Canada and you don't have a written agreement, even just an email that says, for any showing you do, I'm going to give you X, whatever, X a fee, or if this thing closes, I'm going to pay you X. Now, why is it important, do you think, to have that kind of agreement? And yes, Michelle.
Clear communication, no misunderstandings.
And yes, so the expectation both of compensation for that time, and also compensation and expectations of what the duties are of what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, because oftentimes you'll start to do things and you go, man, I ended up doing so much work on that. So having that is so important, even if it's internal. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen. Yes, that is true in the chat box, Stacy's saying. And because, and I was talking to Michelle about this, and I just came up with this great analogy about it, so we had a situation where 2 people were working together and there wasn't a clear agreement in writing about what was going to happen when this deal closed. And one person said, I think I should get this because this is the work I did. And the other person said, I think you should get this. And they were different things. And so who makes the decision in that case? If you don't have a writing, well, in this case, it was Michelle because she's the principal broker and she's the one that's got to listen to it and figure out what it is. And so she makes a decision. Now, is that decision something that you're going to be in agreement with? Well, if you have two people that have different ideas, most likely one person is not going to agree, and possibly both, because it could be something different than what either one of them wanted. And so I told her it's like leaving it in the hands of the judges. Right? You're in a fight, you're in MMA or a boxing match. You want to have a definitive thing that you know what that outcome is going to be, and do not leave it in the hands of the judges, because sometimes you're not going to like what the judges do. So I cannot stress enough making sure that that is clear, even if it feels weird or uncomfortable, or you think, oh, we know each other, we're friends, we'll work it out. You must do that. And then if you take a listing together or something like that, again, not just compensation and what that looks like, it's expectations and task list of who is doing what. Okay, I'm looking at the chat box. For those of us who are not brokers, don't we need brokers or approval to receive commission from another person or money from another person? Yeah, so it would be if it's a commission or a percentage of the deal, if it closes, it's going to go through the brokerage anyway. You guys are going to instruct us as to what your agreement was. And guess what? And if one person says it was this and the other person says it was that, somebody puts a number on the DA and it's not the right one, or the green sheet that Shelby creates a DA for, we're going to come back to you and we're going to say, where's the written agreement? And then you're going to send us a written agreement that says this is what was agreed to, and then we'll disperse accordingly. Okay. And then in the intranet, Marion's saying we have a co-listing agreement in the intranet. Yes, that is a great guide to look at, which gives you some information. Any questions, feedback, ideas, input on that? Who has had a situation in the past where this has come up?
I have that, but it's not in a negative way, because there's 3 of us on some of our HANA properties. We've had that discussion. We've emailed, this is what we're going to do with this one, or if something changes, so that there's no oh my gods on payday.
Yeah, that's a good point, Joyce. If you're working, so the 3 of you work as a team. So we establish guidelines, or you guys establish that, which I know I had helped you a little bit with at the beginning, which is who's doing what does the compensation model look like? So every listing you take together, which is multiple, you have that agreement on, unless otherwise stated. And that it goes for anybody who's working as a team as well, or working together with somebody a lot, having that in writing as well. Okay, Stacy says texting, email, that's in writing. Great. And then another reminder, if you're not doing this, because we've also had situations that have come up lately with clients and or situations where other agents, I'm telling you right now, other agents are getting, given the climate of what's happening where inventory is really low, if say you have a listing, mark my words, some agent from some other company that doesn't get the deal may get upset that their client didn't get it if you have a multiple offer situation. So it is even more important, it's always important to have all that correspondence in writing about how you took the offers, if something was accepted, that you notified the other agents that there was an accepted offer, if that you had sellers reject and you actually show the rejection in writing, that you presented it to that seller, or you verify per the new code of ethics rule that you presented it to the seller if they ask in writing. Having that track record is going to be really important and will help prevent you from getting into trouble down the road, or somebody potentially filing a complaint against you. So I just want to stress, any conversations that you have on the phone, in the situation, it would be with a buyer's agent. If you have the listing, recap it in writing per our conversation. This is what we said, and make sure you're communicating throughout the process to all of the buyer's agents if you have a listing that's in demand. Michelle.
I personally had a situation this last week I just want to share with our team. If you are going to write an offer for your client, write it right away. Even if it's the weekend and maybe you're showing property and you're like, oh, I'll write it this evening. Stop what you're doing and write the offer. I had an agent a week ago who said, we're not going to review offers till Monday night. So I didn't write it right away. It was for myself, fortunately. on my own investment portfolio. I wrote the offer and got it to her by 5 o'clock. She says, oh, you know what? The seller decided, I've been sending them one by one. The seller decided this afternoon at 2 o'clock just to take a full price offer that was on the table. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You said you weren't going to review them till this evening. And she goes, well, it's evening on the mainland where the client is. And I was like, I really wanted this property and I was really irritated, and there were multiple offers and I had an escalation clause that was high enough. I would have got the property, but they sent them to him early. So don't believe the seller's agent. If they say we're going to hold them till X, don't believe that, because they can change that at any time, and they should, but don't often notify everyone who's involved, which was my case. Had that been for a client, it would have been much worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and it was an honest thing. It was just like, I was showing property that afternoon. I got home, I wrote it right away. In fact, Marion helped me with it, and I told her, you signing it wasn't the issue. They took it off for 3 hours ago and never told me. So,
Yep.
you know, it's nuts out there. People will say one thing and do something else.
Yeah, always just do whatever you think is in the best interest of the client. And that's typically going to be getting that in, especially in a market like this. Andy, you have one thing, and then
Lisa?
yeah, Marion, and then Andy.
I just wanted to add that there's a lot of talk in Keller Williams, and we teach it in Ignite to use an escalation clause. And escalation clauses can be quite effective, but I wanted to encourage everybody, if you're going to use an escalation clause, this is a clause you'd put in a queue in your contract that says the buyer will increase any offer that the seller receives by $2,000 up to, and they put a limit. If you do that, you nevertheless still have to stay in touch with that listing agent every day and say, did you receive any other offers? Are they higher than mine? You know, are you going to honor and activate that escalation clause? So please always follow up on your offer. Don't just sit and wait for 3 days.
That is a really good point, Marianne. And reminder to have the conversation with all of your buyers about the escalation clause right now, because a lot of those are what are getting accepted. So make sure you're having that conversation with your buyers right now, explaining that to them, giving them that option.
We have it as a template in the clause library. So Marianne wrote a beautiful templated clause that you can literally copy and then paste into Q. And it allows you to change that number, how much that number is. I advise and recommend you don't use an even number like 1,000 or 2,000. I always go off and have a funky number. Like I went $127 over what my normal escalation. So normally I do $2,000. So on that offer, it was like 21.26. You don't want to be an even number that everyone's putting an escalation clause at $1,000. You want to have it be high enough that you know that it'll push you over the top.
Good job, Michelle. That's the strategy. Okay, I'm going to let Andy go, and then we're go ahead, Andy.
Well, I don't want to embarrass them because they're both on the call. I had an agent that had this low inventory.
Why would
two
you
buyers.
say they're on the call?
They had two buyers that wanted the same property, and I reminded the agent that it was dual agency. Do that. And one of the buyers was very uncomfortable with that. And so we had another agent in the office write the offer, and the offer that the other agent wrote got into escrow. We ended up doing amendment to change the representative of the offer, and we're in escrow on me. And they made an agreement between the two of them how they were going to compensate each other. So
yeah, that's a good point too. Sometimes that does happen, and to have a plan in place for that.
You know, going back to that, you know, the trying to get the deal. Be cautious. I'm seeing a lot of offers with a lot of stuff NA'd on it, and you know the buyers should still do their termite. They should still do the survey if it's applicable. You know, all those things that become buyers' costs, right? That they're getting rid of. However, they should still do those activities. You know, still get those things done because they do.
And keep your financing contingency in place.
Right, all that kind of stuff. I've seen contracts taking all that stuff out, making earnest money hard after a very short J1. Some of them take the J1 out, J3 out. I mean, that's very dangerous, right?
Yeah, we still want to be an advocate for them, and ultimately it's their decision. Although if it's a high, putting them in a higher risk situation. I remember the last market cycle, we had a situation, I wasn't the agent on it. This is a perfect example though, where there was a contract and the inspection was waived, and the agent did have the conversation with the client, but they were also pushing them to be aggressive because they were concerned they weren't going to get the property. And then later on, they did buy the property, and later on there was litigation where that person came back and sued and named the agent in the suit based on the waiver of the J1. So, that's a great note. Be cautious. Love it. Kathy, love the green facial hair. What? Because Keone has that like green thing coming up on his. Okay. All right, you guys. Great conversation for today. Thank you so much. We'll continue. If Leah's on next week, we'll do. Oh no, next week are awards. Next week are awards. So we'll see you guys next week for our awards. Make sure you go to the survey and vote if you want to nominate anybody, and come join us next week. It's going to be super fun, really exciting. Karen Prawl will be joining us too. She's our regional director because she's actually going to be on Maui at that time. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Lisa. It was a great meeting.
Thanks, Aisha.
Thank you very much.